Going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Boeing having an engine just detached during a flight. Which, yeah, the business blunder, I mean, last year, I mean, there's a lot about Bud Light. Is Boeing the new Bud Light, perhaps? I mean, the quality is about the same in terms of, falling apart and people not wanting to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Maybe. Now, this was one of the first things I saw reporting on this, or profiles I saw reporting on the topic, comes from Raw Alerts on X Twitter. And they say, quote, breaking, a Boeing 737 Southwest Airlines had to make an emergency landing after parts of the engine cowling detaches. They say, quote, currently granted this is earlier, but they say, currently emergency crews and authorities are on the scene after a Boeing 737-800 Southwest Airlines flight WN3695, SWA3695, departing from Denver International Airport bound for Houston, Texas, experienced an incident during takeoff. The pilots on board declared an emergency landing to air traffic control after reporting that a piece of the engine cowling had detached and was dangling off. Video recorded by a passenger shows the detached engine cowling flapping during the flight. The aircraft safely returned to Denver International Airport, and no injuries have been reported. The FAA will be investigating the situation, unquote. And not sure how much audio there is in the specific video, but
let's go ahead and declare an emergency for Southwest 3695. And we'd like an immediate return. We got a piece of the engine cowling hanging off the return. Southwest 3695, roger that. Turn left, Tango 19.
It was almost as flimsy as a candy wrapper being blown off. What do people eat these days? A Butterfinger bar? Those are still a thing, right? I don't buy candy, but nevertheless. That got 12.5 million views and 28,000 likes. And yeah, I mean, I don't know perhaps the people who are assembling Boeing aeroplanes, maybe they are drinking Bud Light. That's not inconceivable. How many mistakes have we seen? We've had doors blown off. You have flights crashing. You have engine cowlings bursting off. I mean, I usually poke fun at General Motors having more recalls than darn near any company. I mean, most of those recalls in the automotive community are not detrimental. Now, granted, some people still pass away, and that's very sad, but they're not on this scale. Maybe you'll have a broken tail light, or what was it? Was it GM? They had an issue where if water got into the tailgate could fall down because the sensor would break on their trucks. That's comically bad, but it's not detrimental. You just have more and more of these Boeing issues. Now, they also added that quote with a couple of photos showing the cowling just completely getting ripped off. And one of the first comments comes from Paul Zuppa saying, quote, another day, another reason to question whether DEI caused it, unquote, quote unquote. Got 356 likes, which, again, Boeing is a very big believer in the DEI initiatives, and many of their subcontractors actually bragged about it. We saw this with the door plug company, where they actually had a whole video on the recruitment page where it's 100% women doing the recruitments, and they were talking about the DEI initiatives. So again, we don't know if that's a contributing factor directly correlated yet. We don't. Now, granted, there will be some investigations with these things, but we don't know for sure if that's the main culprit. Now, you also have Newton saying, quote, Boeing needs to pay their CEO less and focus on their plane safety instead, unquote, getting 2.3 thousand likes, which, spoiler alert, the CEO either just stepped down or is stepping down. Let me see here. Let me double check on that really quick. And while we're doing that, let's actually pull up their stock to see how that's doing. So David Calhoun announced that he will be stepping down as president of the company at the end of the year. Again, that was Boeing CEO Dave Cohen. So is he really going to stay in this job for the whole year? Just step down. Let's see here. Let's pull this up 2 days ago. Board management. He'll step down in board management as a shakeup with the 737 MAX continues to be bad. No. Oh. So yeah, Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun will step down at the end of 2024 in part of a broad management shakeup. Now, granted, there's a lot of things. I understand there are a lot of logistics. There's a lot of things that need to happen when CEOs step away from a role and you transition to a new one. And they also know some of the board directors will not be up for re-election, or they'll be stepping down instead. So there's going to be some big shakeups at Boeing, and that's certainly, again, that's going to help with public perception, I think. And truth be told, I think they definitely could use some new leadership and new ideas. Obviously, the current methodology is not working. Now, interestingly enough, if you pull up Boeing stock, oh jeez, every other defense contractor is doing ridiculously good. And Boeing, again, they make commercial airlines, but it's kind of funny. They used to be known as a defense company because that's really where they flourish the most. And only within the past 60 years is when they really started to go more after the commercial market, where, again, they did flourish. Their stock is currently trading at $181.56 per share, although, it's kind of abysmal. And again, not financial advice, but they don't even pay dividends, so there's no incentive to keep the stock. But I partially digress. So it went down the past 5 days. It's gone 3.87%. In the past month, it's down 5.68%. Past 6 months, down 3%. Year to date, this is a discount stock if I've ever seen one. Year to date, it's down at 27.88%. And again, all these other aviation companies are doing pretty darn good. I mean, Lockheed, granted, they also make munitions and other things, but Lockheed Martin's at $452 per share. Now, going to the 1 year trend for Boeing, it's down 13%. Past 5 years, it's a fire sale, folks. Past 5 years, Boeing's been slashed in half. This stock went down 52.18%. Previously trading, what was it? In 2019, it was at $379.64 per share, which is terrible. Now, granted, the lifetime of the stock, granted, most stocks, if they're successful businesses, grow over time. The lifetime value is still up by 3,096%. So again, long term, pretty good. But again, past 5 years, that's not great at all. And again, they've been around for, obviously, the founders, Mr. William Boeing in 1916, rather. And they got 171,000 employees. And every article about them right now is, about all those. The doors blowing off, as well as, now you have basically the engine shield, I believe is the rudimentary term, just flying off as well. Now, another one, but to go to the comments, you have Gina Fredo saying, quote, yikes. And there's a picture of the Hunger Games girl, and it says, flying Boeing, may the odds be forever in your favor, getting 2.6 thousand likes. Aviation says, quote, maintenance issues falls on the airline, not Boeing. Boeing lately taking a lot of fire for maintenance matters that operators are squarely to blame for, unquote, getting 1.3 thousand likes, which I understand that perspective. Given how popular services are for everything on the planet and how most everything is not sold as a product, it's sold as a service, I find it very surprising Boeing isn't checking up on their engines and they don't sell a subscription service where they double check all the work for your local maintenance crew, either bi-weekly or monthly. If you are in the aviation industry, let me know in the comments. Again, I'd love some additional insight. Now, going down more and more, you have the doppelganger saying, quote, what is happening? Why is nothing being done about all these planes all of a sudden messing up? Something is definitely going on. I'm quoting 664 likes. Valentina Gomez says, quote, honestly, at this point, I might get my pilot's license and fly myself instead of these airlines. I'm quoting 681 likes. Well, that being said, a much more fun, entertaining way to actually travel is, drive a car with 3 pedals, also known as manual transmission. You'll smile ear to ear, and it is a unique experience to say the least. And also, you don't have to arrive 2 hours early. If you want to leave at a certain time, you just leave whenever you want. And depending on when you leave, you can beat the traffic quite well. You also have Salty Goat saying, quote, if they don't address this, we are going to start to see even worse outcomes. And getting 428 likes. Let's see here. Scrolling down more and more. Final Cut Michigan says, quote, Boeing stock should be rock bottom right now, getting 688 likes, which, again, the stock went down. It didn't crash, relatively speaking. Carolina said, well, I guess crash pun moderately intended now that I think about the aviation, but nevertheless. Carolina says, quote, Boeing must halt all its flights immediately. Boarding those aircraft is terrifying, getting 136 likes, which I'm not sure if they can do that. I guess they can issue a recall, which would de facto maybe have the airline companies stop them. I have to look at the order of operations there. Endgame World War III says, quote, be safer flying on a paper airplane than Boeing these days, getting 184 likes. Fadi says, quote, DEI is really destroying industries, unquote, getting 189 likes. The kitchen sink says, quote, Boeing DEI strikes again. Is a picture of two heavy African American women in front of holding wrenches, saying, quote, planes and shit. I'm quoting 77 likes. Let's see here. Red Wave Press says, quote, we don't need to freak out about every Boeing incident. Incidents happen in aviation. Sometimes it's no one's fault. Interesting contrarian statement. Still got 69 likes. And yeah, there are, again, anecdotally, stuff happens. But the frequency in which things are happening to Boeing airplanes in the past 6 months have been, that frequency is abnormal. I mean, we went years without hearing this many issues with Boeing, products. Let's see here. KA, or I guess California Grown 5 says, quote, people need to refuse to fly on Boeing 737 unless the carrier provides every passenger with real life insurance in case of a catastrophic event on their clearly faulted planes. I'm quoting 67 likes. Scrolling down, let's see here. So a couple contrarian statements was overall, they're just mainly roasting Boeing. And again, a couple of memes of them using duct tape to try to clean it. Another meme of, Don Marie has a meme of a whole crew, but their faces, or assembly crew, and their faces are being replaced with clown faces and wigs. And they're assembling the Boeing. They got 90 likes. So it'd be fascinating to hear that if the airline industries, the airline companies start to get phone calls of people who are asking specifically the manufacturer of the plane that they are scheduled to fly on. And if people will switch their consumer preference to a competitor like Airbus. And again, Boeing is already starting to lose contracts on these. So some of the airline companies like, American Airlines, Southwest Airlines, a lot of them are starting to look at Airbus more and more. And recently a small contract was awarded, I believe, I want to say it was Southwest or American Airlines. Those are my favorite. Those are two of the biggest, where they actually chose Airbus for a fleet expansion. And again, this is especially detrimental when you think of the size scale of these types of sales. They usually are a long sales cycle, and these products are supposed to be durable and last a long time. And especially when you have consumer preferences shift, because for the most part, I would say the average person really didn't care what kind of plane they were flying on. They chose whatever carrier they had the best experience with, whether it's customer service or a price point. And they would fly, Spirit, American Airlines, maybe United, or maybe if they want to break their guitar, or maybe American Airlines, something to that effect. They really didn't really think too much about the plane. But now you have them starting to hesitate, starting to lose confidence in your product. And this is one of the things where, again, no one really cared before. And Boeing, in the U.S. commercial market, has done very well. Basically dominated it for decades after struggling to get to that commercial point. They were able to swing that pendulum and really do exceptionally well. Now the competition is growing. Granted, in terms of the number of competitors, there's not many, but there are a couple, and they're sizable and capable, aka Airbus. That's probably the biggest, most well-known competitor. And having an issue where, again, more and more of these incidents are happening, and of all the products where you need to have safety being paramount, if a pen leaks ink, I don't think anyone's going to get mad at Bic. But if you have these type of things that could detrimentally, and people are passing away, it is terrible. Not just morally, ethically, but also from a business perspective and brand perspective, this is going to have a much more profound impact. So if you have yet another issue with one of their products, I gotta say, Boeing, that energy detaching, that certainly is the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, again, for taking the time to tune in. Trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, leave me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.